Lucky Boys Podcast.
Getting a book transitioned into a short film. And what I found fascinating is that it was about what you've been around, the relationship between cops and gangsters in Chinatown.
Well, this is the sociopolitics of Chinatown in the 70s, where the gangs really ruled the neighborhood. Cops were corrupt and brutal. So all this kind of emotionalism was going on, and the neighborhood was growing and changing. Real colorful times.
You had some experiences in the past with that. I mean, you may not have been around in the 70s the way Henry was.
Maybe late 90s, early 2000s. I wasn't much in Chinatown. I was more in the new Chinatown, Flushing. Okay. And what I witnessed was a lot of the local gangs from Chinatown were going to Flushing for, more prosperity, more the hot spots and everything like that. So a lot of rumors were like, oh shit, Chinatown gangs are coming here. Right. Stuff like that. So a lot of the Queens boys were a little bit timid. But yeah, some of my friends were in those gangs and stuff like that. So yeah, I witnessed it, just before it died down with, I think Giuliani killed it all.
For sure, he did. Yeah, I think one of those, the 3-strike rule, and once you get 3 arrests, you're done. And they're a massive hiring.
Oh yeah,
of police officers. And I remember just being a kid playing basketball outside on the courts. No matter which basketball court I was in New York City, I would always see cops everywhere. I would go, especially when I go down to the subways to go from one basketball court up to a different part of Manhattan. Cops everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it was unavoidable, right? In a good way or a bad way, depending on, who you are and what you do. But did those experiences, living through that, help you create this short film and envision it? Because it seems like it's, can I say that it's successful?
It might be. I don't think it did too well in the film festivals. I don't know why. I mean, this could be a lot of reasons. It could be too long. Maybe it wasn't good enough, or or times have changed. I don't know. But luckily, it got shown at Disorient, Houston. It's showing at DC right now. Today's the last day. All virtual. So we haven't had a in-person screening to see people's reaction. But we did talk. Me and Henry had a chance to talk to the festival director at Disorient, and what was amazing about it, she got the story. She was like, wow, I never seen Chinese American, not Asian, Chinese American male protagonist portrayed that way. And she was just blown away by Perry's role and Ty, just playing these father figures and how he relate to her, like with her past and her parents. So she's like, really want to talk to us more about that. But of course, in the Zoom interview, there were other filmmakers, so we had to cut it short. But to see someone engaged by that, I felt, well, we accomplished something. That's good. So right now we're still waiting for others considerations at film festivals, but we're excited that we are having our first New York premiere here with ACV at the Asian American International Film Festival, and it is going to be in person.
Congratulations to the both of you.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about it too. We've shown, as Patrick said, we've shown in Eugene, Oregon, Houston, now Washington, and
and
coming
Canada,
to Montreal.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about that. I mean, people are picking up on it, and
I think you guys are being humble.
Yeah,
you guys. There's a lot of festivals. You guys.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, I think there is an appetite out there. I think people want to get a little window just to look at what Chinatown was like on the other side, the underworld, right? And I just find it fascinating that you both collaborated on this project, since you've seen what it was like in the 70s and 80s, and you with the 90s and 2000s. Was there any challenge to kind of represent that story the way you both intended to?
I don't think so. I think it's the same. I mean, like with the characteristics of gangs are gangs, and Chinese is Chinese. It's like it's very traditional, very mindset oriented. It's meaning like all Chinese men they act the same, gambling, attitude, ego. But the really hard part was Chinatown itself, capturing the essence of that era, because it's really gentrified here. We got Starbucks, we got Korean food here. So just capturing the locations of that time, that's really difficult. I mean, Chinatown Fair doesn't even look like Chinatown Fair. So location was the tough part to get that Henry story, you know.
You mentioned early on that you were very close to the violence, very close to, I guess you had front row seats to the show, right? And what was that like growing up and seeing these gangs? Was it as tough as people think it is, or is it a lot milder?
I wish I was not in the front row. I wish I was taking the back row, to be honest with you. I witnessed that because I got picked on by Asian gangs, and I hated it. I'll say it was I got picked on by Ghost Shadows. My parents said, stay away from them. Don't go to pool halls. You're going to get in trouble. But I just want to shoot pool. So I was with my white friend, and I did not connect with any Asian people at all. Because I live in Queens, so it's very kind of suburban, really white, you know. Not now, it's really diverse. So I got picked on, and I hated that feeling. I hated that feeling of just being powerless, not able to defend myself. And next thing you know, like a year or two later, I was like, I just got to make more connections. And I met someone who's like, hey, I'm in this gang. You want to hang with our crew? You want to roll with us? And I was like, yeah, why not? But it wasn't just joining a gang. It was just building that friendship, just trying to connect to more people. So I started hanging out Flushing more. And at first, it was just a bunch of teenagers from freshman high school, sophomore high school, hanging out at the pool halls, arcades, rocking the beepers, as we were talking about, before cell phones. You know, we had to carry a bunch of quarters just to connect to people. It's like, hey, Will, we're at so-and-so, come down. It's like, you know, whatever. And if you can't find the people, you know where they're going to be at. They're going to be at that pool hall all the time, cutting school. And then it got worse. It got a little competitive. More gangs were like trying to go over each other's territories, like Ghost Shadows, MMP, Flying Dragons. It was just getting a little bit ridiculous. And it was
so all of those gangs were in Queens, Flushing? Because a lot of people think of Chinatown gangs, they think of New York City, Chinatown, Manhattan. Mm-hmm. They don't think about Queens.
I mean,
and this is happening in a suburb in Queens, you're saying.
I mean, Flushing, it's not what is this now. I mean, before it was very Jewish, and I think it went from Taiwanese to Korean. Now it's Fujian people living there, and it's very, very, you know, Chinatown-like. But, yeah, I mean, there was a movie out there, Revenge of the Green Dragons, which some of our friends were in it. So there are some Queens gangs in Elmhurst. But Flushing, it was transitioning. They were called the Queens Ghost Shadow, you know. So they were located there, and then there was the TB, Taiwanese boys.
Were they all made up of the same members in New York City, Manhattan, Chinatown, or was they just like a separate sector?
Separate sector. Like from what I remember, there was some gang lieutenants. They're like, well, if you're in Flushing, why don't you get your own boys? Like, we'll give you 10 langjais. So they did that.
What's langjai for people listening?
Soldiers.
Okay.
You know, like foot soldiers. People just do the grunt work. You know, collect extortion or beat up that person. You looked at my girl differently, whatever. Which is most of the case. I'm like, just staring problems. But yeah, it was like mostly it was Ghost Shadows first, and then it started drifted because from what I heard, like there was a gang called TB, and then they broken up, and then they started either joining Ghost Shadows, some maybe White Tigers, and then some to MMP, this new gang. MMP was saying Moming Pai, means no name gang, because they didn't have a name. And you can tell because they're always dressed in black. That was their first rule. Black pants, black shirt, you know. So, and Ghost Shadow was like, you had to dress a little bit of red and stuff, just to color code yourself, like which gang you were from. Even the hair color. And I remember it was very popular. Bangs up to here, to the chest, you know, shaved head, you know.
The undercut.
Yeah.
With the mushroom haircut, or eventually I think they had like the shaved top but the long front.
Yeah, it's like freaking Guile from Street Fighter.
Yeah.
So,
did the haircut like signify like which specific gang a person would belong to?
No, not really. But it did tell people, oh, you're a Feijia. You're a bad boy, you know, like you're a gangster.
Most of them look like this. Most of them have this type of hairstyle, hair color, because they all kind of, I would even say the accent. Some of them would speak a certain way, and you would kind of get an idea of where they were.
So it was
from,
like a
who they were
uniform
with.
almost.
Almost, but even everyone had like a certain way of speaking, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can tell people from Brooklyn, from Chinatown.
Right.
But clothing-wise, it's funny. You can tell if they're from Chinatown or FD because they wear taper pants. That they were tight.
Right.
Because Queens lot, they were rocking the Jinkos, like the loose fit, like the wide legs.
Baggy jeans.
Yeah, to cover your feet. And, you know, our parents would be saying, wow, they mate ya. Like, are you mopping the floor with those pants? You know, but it was easy to carry like machetes and baseball bats in there.
Right.
It was functional. It was functional. It was functional clothing.
People would keep stuff, and these were like Jinko or request jeans. And for those of you guys that don't know what that is, just you can Google it. But there's extremely wide-legged pants from the top, and I think what made it famous originally were intended for skateboarders or people that rollerblade.
And I think K-pop at the time also had a little influence too.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, because a lot of all the girls back then Flushing, they all like.
Who was this popular K-pop? They were like the BTS of HOT. HOT. Yeah, they're like the BTS of back in the day.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, what was great about Flushing and Chinatown, but Flushing mostly, like they would have video stores, music stores. So they just didn't just sell Chinese music; they sell Korean. So then a lot of the Chinese people were like getting into the K-pop, you know. And then he's like, "Oh my God, who's this pretty boy with the long bangs and his dyed?" And then all of a sudden, us Asian Americans start imitating that style, and you see him wearing the wide and the over baggy. So it was kind of weird, you know. It's like, are we dressing as Asian Americans or K-pop?
Right.
But yeah.
So then you got this whole section of Asians have this real old school look, tapered, slim fit jeans. What's popular now?
Yeah,
right?
those
guys were ahead of their time.
It's coming back,
right?
Yeah,
those guys were ahead of their time, and then you have this whole new era of kids wearing big, wide-legged jeans, long bangs, colored, looking. You know, I think if people saw someone like that right now, they would kind of go like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
It's funny. One of our actors in A Father's Son, I mean, you both saw it and stuff. Joey, Simon, except for Sean. I purposely asked them to get a new haircut because they all had long hair. Sean had this Jang Ekin, the actor from Hong Kong. He was in Young and Dangerous, Guwachai. I was like, he looks like Ekin Chen a little bit with the hair. And then Joey had already this Jackie Chan old school haircut. So I went to say, hey, I want to get you guys a haircut and mimic the style. So we went to the barber, and I asked the barber, like, do you remember the 90s? They're like, yeah. Remember the gold hair? You know, like Fage Eye? They're like, yeah. I want you to do that. And they were like, really? I was like, yeah. So they dyed it hair, kept it long, they shaved the side a little bit. And Joey was rocking that in Chinatown for a while. And some of these old people were looking like,
oh, yeah?
But they recognized that from that time.
It repelled them? Like,
it repelled them, yeah. They were like just shocked, like, you bring this back and stuff?
Yeah.
And
and you know, I think people listening, just hearing like if they've never seen that look before, they go like, that looks weird or fruity or all this stuff. But I promise you guys, back in the day, that
cool.
look, people would like get repelled. They would get, I guess, intimidated because they would know that a person that looks like that is likely to be affiliated. And like you were saying, if you even make the wrong eye contact, they would attack you or assault you for any reason.
That's part of the reason why they had this gang migration to Queens and to, you know, all the Elmhurst and Flushing, was because of all the stuff that went down here in Chinatown and got so crazy that some gangs said, like, okay, I'm going to Queens and I'm gonna start my own chapter in Elmhurst. You know, I'm gonna go to Flushing. You know, new territory. You know, I can't be here no more because we just too much fighting. They just kicked us out.
It's too much heat.
Yeah.
And I know it's a different time for saying this, but back in the days, all the guys from Chinatown would be like, oh, one of the reasons why they come to Queens, like, oh, the girls are prettier.
I heard that before. People were saying the Queens girls have more style.
They had more style. They had more look.
But you gotta have a car, bro.
That's right. You did need to have a car.
They didn't have the
that
7
train. That 7 train's not
didn't have the
working.
7 back
man.
then?
That was a hike.
You're right, Henry.
That's a hike.
You're right, Henry. I mean, there were a few didn't have cars, but if you were a pretty boy,
I dated a girl in Flushing. That was a hike. It was just once, and I'm like, I'm not doing this again. 2 hours round trip.
yeah,
I'm not doing that again. And then
Yeah.
you have to deal with all these rude people. And then this lady straight up just basically half sat on my lap because she just wanted to sit. Old lady, by the way. And I'm just like, I just got up. And then I got up and I quickly regretted it because now I see why she did that. The train, I was packed in like sardine.
it's funny, yeah,
This
because
whole-
I would never date a girl from Brooklyn at that time. I was like, it's too far.
Oh my gosh, that's even worse.
It's from Queens to Brooklyn, it's so far.
Yeah, we love our Chinatown girls.
No, but you can tell from back then, like the guys dress differently, attitude, like you said, but even the girls, like you can tell some girls from Brooklyn, Chinatown girls, and girls from Queens, because they really did dress differently, like all black, the black lipstick, the gold hair, they all,
That was the look in Queens.
The flares.
the flares,
Sorry.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
that was the look back then,
That was definitely the look.
yeah.
I guess you can compare that to this day and age yoga pants, sort of.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It just
Yeah.
kind of flares out, hence the flares. Anyway, so all right, so now you're in that world, right? And you get encapsulated in this. I bet you're having a ton of fun, right?
Meeting a lot of people.
That's one thing, and I don't want to romanticize it because there's this whole other part that comes. There's a cost that comes with that fun,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's no secret why they say that when you're in that world, you have one foot in the grave and one foot in jail. But let's talk about the fun part. Obviously, there needs to be an attraction, and so what is that attraction to that world?
I don't know, man. I mean, like, I still even think about the past and, like, why did I do that? Or why did I waste most of my youth just doing those, unresponsible things? But I think it's a camaraderie, I think, for myself, I can say most of my friends at the time, it was kind of odd. They were all coming from divorced parents or raised by single parents. So they just went out. But for us, the fun part was just drinking. And we knew people who had connection to bars, clubs, and one of our mutual friends, he knew the party host. So every Friday night, it's like, let's go clubbing. I was like, oh, we have to pay? No, we'll cut the line. Like, all right, let's go. Let's pick up some girls. If thing gets down, we'll just toughen up and just start getting 2 fights, whatever. But the fun part was just getting stuff for free, drinking with your boys, and if you get into a fight and if you win, then we go back to Chinatown here, go to Noodletown 69, and then we just talk about the night. It's like, oh yeah, you punch him in the face. So remember, you do that ashtray in the guy's eyes. You're like, things got wild back then.
You would always know the group that got into fight. Noodletown is a restaurant, and 69 is another restaurant that used to be in Chinatown. It was very popular, 69, and those were the hot spots because those were the restaurants that were still open. So everyone that came from the club, pretty much pouring into Chinatown. They didn't even have to be Asian. It would be anyone. If they had a hankering for Chinese food, they just knew that there was a couple of spots still open down here.
And they're open 4 a.m, man.
And here's the crazy thing: like I've seen like where I'm having like a late night dinner, right, and one group comes in, and then you can see like blood or ripped T-shirts, right?
Yeah.
So I'm
There's
just like, oh,
evidence.
that person just got in a fight.
Yeah.
But here's the crazy part: sometimes there'll be one group that'll come in that just finished fighting it, and then they'll end up both at 69.
Yeah.
And then
Is there a fight?
round two?
Round two,
It was
wow.
crazy. Right around the corner is what? The 5th precinct.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right around the corner. There were so many fights right in front of that restaurant.
And
Destroyed.
I feel like us Asian men, we have so much amped up energy because, we all know, like, if you're raised by immigrant family, you don't get to talk about share your feelings or break bread like you see on television. So there's a lot of amped up energy that you have consumed with you, and that's like a way to release. I think that's why we get into a lot of fights. Just to
A
let
lot of
go.
anger.
Yeah, part of anger, man.
And here's the thing what a lot of people don't talk about. A lot of these kids, like at that time, I don't know about now because I'm not growing up as a teenager in this generation, but they were beat physically, like beat by their parents, like hard. Like I had cousins, I had relatives that got beat so hard, like I would see scars on them the next day, and their skin would be raised from getting whipped. And a lot of the people that I spoke with, went to school with, you would see them come into school like that, across their face, arms, legs, and they were talking about. And I think that creates just a lot of negative, toxic energy. And then when someone does something to you and you actually can hit back, you will hit back. But now you're amplifying.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of Asians get into fights. But the fun part, it's so funny. Like I'm in my 40s, and you know those people I still hang out. I still hang out with them. Now they're married, have kids.
Like to sum it all up, it sounds like
trip.
power and freedom.
Yeah.
Right, because you felt important. You felt like you mattered in this world.
Yeah.
Right, and because of that, you felt like you just have access to all these places where you normally wouldn't, and then you could walk around now with your head held high, because now I don't have to worry about people picking on me, because they know if they do, they're gonna have to deal with my buddies or my big brothers, right? And I can understand it, how at a young age that could be alluring, right? Looking back at it though, what are some of the things on the other side of it that, I mean, besides jail and death, like what are some of the
dark
parts
side,
where you go, okay, that wasn't so good, that wasn't so great?
Seeing some of your friends in hospitals, getting stab wounds, getting shot. Yeah, I think that's the worst. Like, not death, but just seeing them injured, like showing that we're all
mortal.
Mortal.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just like we gotta be more extra careful. But then later, guess what? A month later, we're back to the same routine again.
So the person that got shot, stabbed, is right back out there with you guys?
Right back, yeah, right back out. I mean, at first, a little bit PTSD, a little traumatized, but then after a while, back to the routine, because what can you do? Go get a 9-to-5 job?
I got a friend who was stabbed. He was never the same again.
Where did he got stabbed?
He got stabbed in the torso, and because of how they had to open him up, you know, to save him, you know, they had to open him up. So he's got the scar like from here to here. And every time after that, we would go to the beach, and he would never take his T-shirt off.
Was your friend associated or affiliated?
No. He was innocent. A couple of these gang members came by. Well, we're just sitting on the block, and a couple of these guys came by, had a beef with one of his brothers, and it had nothing to do with me. You know, they said, go talk to my brother. You know, but they wanted to, start something there, and my friend got knifed, and those guys, like they got away with it, because even afterwards, when we went to talk to the cop at the 5th precinct, because that's where we ran that night, and then they took him to the hospital. But a week or two down the line, the undercover cop said, well, what do you guys want to do? I don't suggest that you press charges, because it's only going to lead to retaliation for that, and it's going to lead. So
a cop said that?
Yeah, he kind of
don't press charges because those guys might want to hurt you more.
Yeah, he was trying to say it'll only bring more trouble, And so in this case, we left it with kind of my friend, he was the victim. We're like, well, yo, what do you want to do? You say the word, we go down. Everybody gets their shit, right? But he thought about it, and he said, nah, it ain't worth it. I'll just suffer it and whatnot,
It ain't worth it.
Yeah, he didn't want to see other people,
I think when you're in that world, that's a tough one, because that guy's not affiliated, so it's not against the rules, right? He's not he's just an innocent guy that was unfortunately happened to be a victim.
Yeah, he was just the nicest guy in the world. I mean, so far apart from any of that violence.
So did he end up moving out of the area, or
he basically did? He finished his education, and I think he got married again after that. But his life was never wasn't the same guy.
Mentally, he wasn't the same.
No, it wasn't.
In the worst way.
No, in the sense that, he was a smart guy. He was still a smart guy. He became a professional. And
Did he just become a hermit?
he was a successful. He didn't become a hermit, but his life was just very like in a box after that. I mean, he was successful in everything, and he found a family.
I guess he lived life extremely conservative, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think he made the most of it, and he still is successful. He didn't let it beat him down.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I think that's the dark side. You have a innocent bystander. His brother. I don't know if his brother was affiliated, but it's sort of like those stories don't get told. Like, that's the dark side of gangs. Like, the surrounding people who get hurt. The community gets hurt.
Well, they say that gangs usually prey on people in their own communities. Did you find that to be true?
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, I don't know why people extort. I don't know why the Asian gangs extort their own people, like restaurants. Extortion mean like they go to the restaurant, order a bunch of food, and then the check comes, and then you got someone like associated with one of the gangs saying, "Well, I'm with so and so. If you give us free food or pay us a certain amount, like some kind of like a licee, like a red envelope, grease us a little bit, we'll protect you, so no other gangs will touch his territory."
Like some type of tuition.
Yeah. And the owners can't do anything about it, so they're like, all right, if I pay this person or this gang, at least we have some kind of protection, and this other gang will keep extorting us here and there. And then you got gangs recruiting young kids, saying, hey, join our gang before they finish their education. And then those kids end up like loving the rush, the drill, and they just drop out of school. Like I did. I dropped out of high school. It wasn't for me. I just wanted to hang out. I was just enjoying life, hanging out with my friends, creating memories together, things like that.
The dark side of that is why these people wanted to join the gangs. And if you look at the immigrant experience, that a lot of these young guys came over from Hong Kong. We're talking about the early 70s. And then by the time they were like 18 and 19, there's no jobs. You can only work in a restaurant or work in a sweatshop. Everything's very limited. And, and those jobs not everybody can get those jobs.
That's why they put such a strong emphasis on education, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's where it stems from, I believe, right? Don't end up like me working in a restaurant and in a sweatshop. I want you to be a lawyer, an engineer, a doctor, someone can look up to, and then I can go back home into the village and tell them how great you are, and our name is now like there's some pride to it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's where it stems from. You're absolutely right.
Well, the problem with that is that they also had a language barrier. Their English was not that good. So, where am I going to get a job outside of Chinatown?
And they're coming here with no degree, to your point.
Yeah, they're coming in, they're regular people. They're, they're not college grads, and they see what opportunities are here for them. And they're like, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm going to do whatever I need to survive. And if that means like, I'm going to take money from you. And I think what happened was that it backfired on the Tongs. They said, well, we got these young kids, let's let them, we use them for all the dirty work. We'll get the 14-year-old, 15-year-old, let them carry the guns, because the law is not going to prosecute them, and we'll use these kids, we'll give them a few bucks. If we have a beef with somebody, we'll send them, squash the beef, and then after a few years, these kids got smart. They said, we're doing all the work. We're doing all the dirty, hard, nasty work. We're carrying the guns. And these old guys, their days come. And when they realized that, and they said, here we are, there was no turning back. The towns couldn't do anything. The kids had guns. They all had guns. They ruled the turf. They knew, they went to every restaurant. That's what happened with that. It's like, we're going to eat here for free. And that's all it is.
So they became lawless, even more to that point where they didn't even respect the people that put them on.
No.
They started realizing, like, why am I taking orders from you when I'm doing all the work?
Right.
All right, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So then what happened to the Godfathers or the bosses? Did they just become irrelevant? Right.
No, they basically did become irrelevant for, they couldn't figure it out because here's the group you hired to protect your gambling house. And now they're telling you they're going to protect your gambling house and what you're going to pay me now. It's not like, oh, you kids can hang out down there. Now they're in charge. They feel they're in charge and they see their power.
So the crews, the young crews, are now extorting the Tongs. Did that happen for a time period?
Yeah, they were in control. The Tongs couldn't tell them what to do. And then it was just when, let's say you had a Tong, you have Arnlung over here, you have Hip Sing over there. Whenever they had a beef, then they would get the kids to fight each other. And after a while, they got smart with that too. And they're like, why are we fighting these guys? I said, you stay on Pell Street, you run your gambling houses. We stay on Mott Street, that's our turf. And that's when it really got, other crews came in and said, well, we want a piece of it too. Abingo, and then this guy, okay, my crew, we got 6 guys, we're going to take this, you're going to take that. And that's what it all, people start fighting all over the place. Over that, people got cut up and shot and stuff. And the losers would be like, well, we can't hang around here no more. We better go to Queens. Let's go to Elmhurst, and we'll protect some gambling house out there and the Chinese gambling house out there because they all have one. Elmhurst, for the people there. We'll make money off that and that's how it all started.
And that's interesting. I thought it was because they were expanding their business, but what you're saying is the gangs were expanding their business, but what you're saying is these are outcasts that were kicked out of the main Chinatown area, and then they went out of boroughs. Basically,
that's what happened with the Ghost Shadows.
Yeah.
Because
is that what happened with them?
Yeah, because with Albingo, the crew, I'm not gonna name his. He got shot. Wait,
who got shot?
I'm not.
Oh, you're not gonna name. Oh, sorry.
The leader.
Yeah, you could say.
Oh, you said the leader?
You could say leader.
Okay.
Yeah, so he got shot, and it was like that.
Was this in the 70s, 80s?
Yeah, it was in the 70s.
Okay.
It was like, okay, so you got a message. If you don't, that's we're telling you. But he survived. He got shot a number of times, but he survived, and he took all his people that was loyal to him. Went out to Queens. There it is again. And it became the White Tigers.
Oh, yeah. See,
so that's how it was birthed?
That's one gang.
Yeah, that's how it's all fraction because like
other gangs,
like even TB Taiwanese boys, like they all just break apart, form their own new gang and stuff like that.
They weren't unified as one.
Yeah, this Queen's Soul Shadow.
Would they help each other out, or would they say no? You're just you do you there. I'm gonna do me here, and that's it.
That's basically what it was. I think
they operated independently.
Yeah, because they were on different turf now, so it's like you stay out there. Don't come to Mott Street, because we'll shoot your ass.
So if they had the same name, was there any relation?
Well, they changed their name. It became the White Tigers.
Yeah, but for me, like what you're saying, Will, like when I hang out, I think I was hanging out with the Grand Street Dragons, Flying Dragons, and then the Pell Street Dragons, Flying Dragons came in. They kind of unified. I was like, at the time, I was like, aren't you the same gang? But different street. Like back then it was like, oh, we're Bayer Ghost Shadow, Mott Street Ghost Shadow. I was like, isn't it the same? So yeah, they were fraction, but they classified as we're in district territory and stuff like that.
But were they unified, or did they look at each other as separate entities?
For me personally, they were definitely not unified. They were fighting at first, and then like Henry said, they got smart. It's like, why are we fighting each other? If we unify, we could overtake Flushing and overthrow the other gangs.
So you're saying the Chinatown gangs, didn't matter who they were with, Flying Dragons, Ghost Shadows, they unified?
Well, the Flying Dragons did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they took that power, that consolidation, and went over to Queens to obtain more property?
Prosperity, whatever they want to call it, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of things going on up there. Like you had a previous guest, Stephen Bishop, and those stories are true. There are people like that.
Which part of the stories from him was true?
The people that he named, I think I know a few of them.
Like the police officers he named?
Police officers and some of the...
Wait, so you knew some of the corrupt police officers he named?
Yeah, I mean, there was 2 famous ones. Like, I think one's Korean, one Chinese. So every time you hear them, you're like, oh, it's so-and-so. It's like, just be careful because they're very corrupted. You know, if you get caught with them, forget it. They're gonna put something on your ass, like drug charges, whatever, just to get you so they can get the bigger fish.
They both resigned, by the way.
No, I think one of them stayed, and the lady got caught.
No, they got fired.
Yeah.
They got fired,
Yeah, because
but I heard they were still able to get like their pension,
pension and everything.
the benefits and everything.
they kind of like retired before they dropped the hammer on them. So I get my pension, I get my thing, and
Whatever happened? Did the law ever catch up to them?
I don't think they did any time. But
Yeah.
I think they had to resign. You know, they were.
Resign, lay low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it like when you met them? Were you shocked
I didn't.
that you
I
saw?
Didn't, I didn't meet
like,
those two cops.
if you see a police officer there, wouldn't you go, whoa, 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 whoa? Like that's not
No, we're just like
someone I want to be around.
No, we just disperse like cockroaches. Like we see something going on, we're like, we just leave. If it's like, oh shit, they're coming, let's all break out. You know, like, oh, they're coming to the pool hall. They're gonna do a check to see if we have guns or drugs. Let's get out of here. Let's go to a pizzeria. Let's go to the movies, and just wait it out, and then come back 2 hours later. I remember getting stopped by the police. Like, it's funny. It was me, two of my guy friends, and one of our girlfriends. Once she left, boom, the cop, hit the curb. You, go in the corner. And then they just pat us down. It's like, yo, you know anyone that sells guns and anything? I was like, what the fuck? You know, like one was white, one was Asian.
So they try to get you to snitch on someone?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and it's funny. We just snitched on the rival gang. It's like, I think I heard about this other gang. You know, I was like, you should check on them.
Oh, that's dirty.
Smart.
So I was like,
Doesn't that break like a code where gangsters aren't supposed to?
Oh, it's
even-
tough to
not my
cops or
friends.
anything.
I'm like, hey man, I think you should check on so and so here and there.
Yeah.
And they didn't find anything, so they let us go. But we're like, once the girl leaves, they got us because they don't want no witness because it's gonna do everything dirty, man, under the books.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I will say this: when I did get arrested, I did see the fucking phone booth in the corner of the interrogation, and you know about the phone booth. They use that to hit you.
They put it in front of
so
your,
what I hear
your
is,
chest or
yeah,
something.
like so it doesn't leave marks.
Yeah.
But it hurts like hell.
Luckily, they didn't use that. But
So
I was like,
how does that work? Can you explain it to the people listening?
I mean,
I've heard stories.
The phone booth.
I've heard
They
stories.
didn't use it on me for sure. My other friends, they got hurt with the phone booth. It's like, so it's basically a table, chairs, detectives mostly, because they're doing not officers,
Not uniformed
uniformed
officers.
So they put you in like
So the crime unit under the cover.
just like the interrogation room, like the see-through mirrors and stuff, which is true. And then they have this little shelf, hover shelf with the fucking phone booth,
phone book. Yeah.
phone book. Sorry.
Yeah.
Are they gonna hit me with that? But of course they didn't, thank God. But what they do is they put the phone book on your body, they'll punch it through so they can get that impact, or they might use their clubs or a hammer, things like that. So
Hit
you
it
won't get
against
any
the phone
mark.
book.
Yeah, but you're just gonna feel the impact of it.
Oh, they would put it like next to your face or
Your
something.
face,
Oh,
your
wow.
stomach, whatever. So
Okay.
And just full on blast you with
Yeah.
like
I always thought it was the chest or
like
something, but they
this
actually
thing?
put it against your head, your
Your
face,
head.
everywhere.
everywhere, man,
Oh.
they can do anything. It's like padding, you know.
And then they will
That's dirty.
Whack you good.
Yeah, that's dirty. Henry, you
we'll-
know something about that?
It's just the way he described it. I never got one on me. I never got caught like that. But yeah, they would lay the phone book right up in your head.
Oh,
and the-
on top of your head or something. Oh yeah,
And they
wow,
would whack you and whack you.
that's
And
dirty.
it would hurt.
When I saw that, I was like, Jesus Christ, it's just like what my friends and the movies described. And I was like, please don't touch me with that. But I had to play it dumb, and I was very surprised they knew all my friends' name. They had mugshots of them, and I had to lie my ass off. I didn't snitch at all. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. But then the person I got caught with, I found out afterwards he snitched. Yeah.
Was this a friend?
Not anymore. Not friends. No, like
But
he's-
at that time, you guys were close.
yeah, he was part of our crew. You know. I saw
Like he sang like everything.
the written statement, signed written statement. He dropped names. I was like, motherfucker, because we had the same lawyer, and the lawyer gave it to me because I asked for it. It's like, did he write anything, say anything? He's like, yeah, he did.
Were you shocked?
Not really, because he was a selfish person.
Do I know him?
Maybe, but I don't think so. He stopped hanging out with us quite a while back,
Okay.
and he got stabbed too. He got stabbed, and that traumatized him. And
Oh, man.
he didn't want to associate. But then he likes that power. He likes to hang out with the girl. He likes the freebies. But when it comes to like loyalty and fight, he was like, no, I gotta go somewhere. I gotta pick up my mom. Any excuse. Like, it really fucked up his his mental state.
Really? I would. I mean, I've heard people got hurt. They go the other way, where they become more dedicated to that life, rather than take a step back.
Okay, yeah.
Because the people that were hurt, like you said, like you were assaulted. Like for example, you were assaulted, you were jumped, right? And you didn't like that feeling of being bullied and helpless anymore. So then you went into it. You leaned into that life 100% because of that. You know, that was the initial catalyst to what made you choose that lifestyle at that young age. And I think for a lot of people getting bullied, either shot, stabbed, I think there's two types of personalities. I think there's one that said like you, they're just extremely traumatized and they run from the fire. They got burned. They don't want to know what it feels like anymore. And then you have the other type that wants to burn back, that wants to get everyone back by any means possible. And they don't want to feel that fear again. So they really go all in on this life.
Yeah.
Kind of like you.
I won't say that. I mean, there's other tough motherfuckers out there that will...
I'm not saying you're the toughest guy.
No, I'm not.
But what I'm saying is that you felt that you had that PTSD, that type of trauma, and then instead of running away from it, saying, I'm going to avoid this, you leaned into it more.
Yeah.
And you seeked out a network.
Yeah, and then, you know, when I got caught, I took a step back, and, you know, my family told me, like, hey, either you get a job, go to school. So it was a life decision. So I went back to school. I got my GED, went to college, but I did stay away from my friends a little bit. And luckily, those guys understood. You know, they're like, you know what, just get your things done. And they accepted me. So I'll come back, hang out, and go to the club.
That's rare. That's rare that you get a group of guys that understands that you are leaving them to go to school.
Yeah.
Above all things, school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were there any type of animosity from anyone at all?
Of course, I think some of them didn't trust. Sort of like
they didn't trust you anymore.
For temporary. But the one that got stabbed, that I mentioned, I don't want to say his name. They didn't trust him at all. At all. They kind of shunned him a little bit.
Wait, they still let him hang out, knowing that he ratted everyone out?
I didn't tell them because if I did, he would have killed him.
Oh wow.
Oh.
The person that you know that. The tough guy that you might know, his name was on it. If I told him, he would definitely would have done something to him bad, you know. But eventually, he just phased out. He
disappeared. He
he disappeared.
Yeah.
But after looking back, he wasn't a good friend. You know, very conniving, very selfish. But it is what it is. You know. You're
talking about camaraderie, and a lot of people feel that way. It's all good when it's fun and games, but when the chips are down. And it's either you or me, they're going to most likely throw you under the bus in order to save themselves. And I think that's one of the hardest things for people to really digest. Because in that life, you're taught, right? Even you see in the movies and if you watch like documentaries about this stuff, a lot of people are taught like, hey, this is family. This is the brotherhood. I got your back, ride or die, right? So many like different sayings, like, you know, us to the end, man. We ain't never gonna stitch that some sucker shit, and all this other. We get girls, we get power, we get everything, and we're promised all this glory, and then eventually, it's not what it seems, right? I mean, listening to you're saying like someone that could be as close as we are, end up turning on you in order to save their own hide. It sounds like that's a normal theme. Is that fair to say?
Some. I mean, other people would not say anything. You know, there were some people
they really live and die by the code.
Yeah, they'll keep them mouth shut.
Now, which one's more rare?
Keeping their mouth shut. Yeah, okay. The snitches. There's a lot.
I guess that's a more rare personality trait.
Yeah, and plus, my friend told me when I started hanging out, they're like, if you ever get caught, don't say anything. Ask for a lawyer up, because what's the point of snitching? You're just gonna put yourself in deep shit, in deep trouble.
With both groups.
Yeah, both.
With the law and
Yeah. So I learned from that, but from that person, I was just shocked. I mean, he did cry, like surprised. He cried, and first thing he mentioned was his mom and his girlfriend. I was like, Jesus Christ, dude! Like, if you're gonna cry, you're gonna get raped in jail, dude. And he's a pretty boy. He was a pretty boy. And we did go to Rikers for a little bit. They split us up. That's the thing. Like
You went to Rikers with him?
Yeah, we went to Rikers. Not too long. Like it was just like
a holding?
Like a holding for a little bit. But
they can hold you for a while usually.
No, they hold you like a week or two if you don't get bailed out. Like once you don't get bailed,
yeah.
they assign you to a block or something. So yeah, they split us up, and fucking I hate this. All the blacks and Hispanics looked at me. Hey, yo, you know kung fu? You know martial art? And
what was your answer?
You know what? Even my crew and my friends said, just say yes.
I would say yes in the heart, even if I didn't know. Yeah, I do.
Yes,
MMA,
motherfucker.
I do all this shit. Taekwondo.
Yes, motherfucker.
Black belt across the board. I know that Bruce Lee shit, that Jackie Chan, black belt.
Yeah. So
because if you say no, then I'm like, this motherfucker don't know how to fight.
Yeah.
I got you. You know, I have a story, something along the lines. But my friend wasn't in jail. He was, and this is like not gang related, but it is related to what you were saying. So my friend is out. He's smoking a cigarette. They were teenagers, right? This is a story he told me. He was out, and he lives in Brooklyn. He was out having a cigarette right in front of his stoop, right? And he's having with one of his other friends, and they're just smoking a cigarette. Some guy comes up to them, ew, can I get a bum of cigarette off of you? And they were like, yeah, cool, no problem. End up giving him a cigarette. They start a casual conversation. They talk really nicely, and it looks like they're being buddy with each other, smoking.
Wait, but the person who asked, was he Asian or not?
No, he was black.
Okay.
Right. So he's going there, he's casually talking, just real smooth, right? And he's like, oh, it's cool, they're all getting along. And then he's like, yeah. And then he's like, yo, since you let me up, I got some weed. I got this joint. You wanna smoke with me? They were like, oh hell yeah, cool, man. Lights it up, gets them nice and high, and he goes, yo, real quick, y'all know karate or stuff like that? Y'all know kung fu and shit? Y'all know how to fight? They're like, nah, man, we don't do that shit, man. Just because we're Asian, we're Chinese, we don't mess with that. And he goes, oh, how about you? He's like, nah, man, just because I'm Chinese, not all of us know kung fu, man. Don't believe that stereotype. He's like, cool. All right, yo, both of you, let me get all your shit.
You know what's funny? I think I told you this story last time, but it wasn't recorded. How I got or proved myself to my, in the gang or whatever you want to call it. I'll just say crew, with my crew. That same person that snitched us out, he's the one who introduced me to them. Mm-hmm. It was so fun, and so I was like, you introduced me, but then you end up to be this person. Anyways, I'll just call him Brian. So just put some content. So I met up with Brian in Flushing, and Brian was acting so weird. He just came out of the train station, and he's like, follow me. I was like, all right, where are we going? He's like, I gotta go to the Busy Bee Mall, which is like a little storefront with like little shops selling jewelry, pawning, whatever. And back then you can buy your knife, pepper spray. So he's trying to sell his chain. I'm like, dude, what's going on? He's like, don't worry about it. And we kept walking, and this tall black guy came up. He's like, yo, I've been following you since 74th Street. When you gonna pay me? I was like, what's going on here? And he's like, he's mugging me. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, why didn't you tell me like someone's following you or whatever? And this is, I'm not associated with anyone, but I did get picked on. It was like after I got picked on by Ghost Shadows. So I told Brian, what's going on? And Brian's like, I'm sorry, I tried to sell my chain, I can't do it. I don't have any money on me. And he looks at me, I saw you counting your money, like, give me your money. And I said, I'm not giving you my money, because I got paid that day. I was working at like a daycare center, so I cashed my check and I got some money. And while we were out, me and Brian, we were going to our girlfriend's recital in Bayside. So we were like going to take a bus and meet our girlfriends there. So he stopped us, and I was like, nah, man, I'm not gonna get picked on again. This is bullshit. I got mugged, I got picked on by Ghost Shadow. I am not gonna let this guy rob me. And plus it's 2 against 1. So it's funny, I stole a cue ball, a white cue ball, and I put a bandana on it. Because at that time I couldn't afford a knife or pepper spray.
A proper weapon.
Yeah, because one of my friends from high school, he was actually I think he was TB, and he told me, what's the best weapon, Pat? I was like, what? It's cheap and it's very efficient. I was like, what? Get a nice bandana and put a cue ball in it, and then just tie it up and just sling someone. I was like, that's interesting. So I actually took a cue ball, stole it, put it in my pocket, and I tied a bandana, and I carried me since. So I busted it out, and I was like, no, you're not gonna rob us. And he looked at me, he's like, what you holding? He's like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm just gonna hit you with it. And he said, you know what, you got balls, kid. I like that. all right, I'll let you go, but I'm gonna beat up your friend.
What?
So I was like, and I looked at Brian.
You got some balls on you.
And I was
That's some interesting reasoning.
yeah, and then Brian just looked stunned, like, what is Patrick gonna do? I was like, no, I'm not gonna leave Brian here alone with you. I was like, dude, I got $11. I mean, I had like 100, but like here's $11, like whatever, just let's get out of here. He's like, oh, he took it, and he's like, all right, and he's kind of stepped back. We stepped back like this, looking at each other, but walked away backwards. And then next thing you know, I was like, yo, Brian, don't ever do that. Like, you're okay. Like, why did you put us in danger? And he was kind of shocked. And I was like, fuck. And he was just thinking, like, how he's going to react to his girlfriend. And I was just playing it cool. And then next thing you know, after recital, Brian came up to say, hey, I like how you stood your ground. I rolled with this crew, so-and-so, in Brooklyn Tech. Actually, they all went to Brooklyn Tech. And they're like, you want to roll with us? I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll hang out with you guys. And that's when I start getting to that lifestyle.
You know what's crazy? I hear like a lot of these stories. I was watching this documentary about Asian gangs in the West Coast, and the stories I hear on the East Coast, they're very parallel. Like, you get a lot of these kids that's super unassuming. You would never think that they were like they fit that type. When you think of a gang member, you think of big tough guy with a huge resume of violence and a long rap sheet. But the other ones I hear is like these guys are in specialized academic programs for people that are gifted and talented, and straight A students attending classes, and then they moonlight as a gangster.
It's true.
That's insane.
It's true.
And they don't look the type. Like, these guys will have no tight tattoos, a low-key haircut that's not too high up there in the fashion chart. It's just very chill.
Yeah.
And they're connected, or they're part of, like, they're one of the top guys.
I didn't know him personally, but he was the leader of TB, Taiwanese Boys. My friend was part of that crew, and he told me about him. He's like, yeah, straight A students, very smart. He run the books, he operated it, and he got the money and everything. So there was people like that, just very smart in how.
Is that done by design so that they can hide in plain sight?
Yeah, absolutely. Smart ones for sure. And like Henry said, they're the one who, I wouldn't say went against their dialogues, but they were just smart enough how to delegate what to do. And you know what? They end up to be more successful.
As a gangster, or in life, or
in
both?
life,
It's like a businessman.
Like after gang life.
Yeah, after gang life.
Like moving back into society.
Yeah, like
Or blending back in. But they were always blended in. So that transition might not have been difficult, right?
Well, one of them, I could say he was an FD. He was the leader, very tough guy. I think he had some tattoos. But when we were hanging out, he's like, I'm going to college. I'm taking business classes. It's like, wow. You're the dialogue taking business. This remind me of that TV show, The Wire, Idris Elba's character, going back to school, getting his education, and now, from what I heard, he does real estate with people from China, so he doesn't have to live that gang life. They know, like, if you don't get that proper education, you're gonna go back to the factory, the restaurants. You're gonna work that 9-to-5 job, even a truck driver. So they didn't want that. They want to live that good, comfortable life. How they gotta do that? By just hustling that money, but doing it smart.
It amazes me that people that are that smart academically choose to go into that lifestyle. And some would argue, if you're that smart, how can you make a decision that's so dumb, right? A lot of people think it's dumb to try to enter a life like that, because you're asking it's only a matter of time until you get in trouble with the law or with another rival. So how can someone that smart be so dumb?
I won't say dumb. Well, I think it was.
But it's just. I'm not saying that they're dumb.
No.
Because I'm not saying you're dumb.
No, I know that. I'm just saying.
But I'm saying what other people may think, right? Because, I mean, here's a straight A student, someone that you would probably hire in a heartbeat or accept into a certain college, right? But at the same time, this person's out here doing illegal stuff and hurting other people, assaulting them, and fighting for territory.
Because think about it. If they're straight A students and after they finish their school, get the diploma, who they gonna work for? They're gonna work for the white guy, because there was not much opportunities back then. They're not gonna be CEOs, with that background. So why not get that hustle side money, you know.
Then why do it in the first place then?
Because again,
If you know it's not going to work out, why would you invest your time in something that's not going to give you a return on investment?
I don't know. I mean, it's different personality, but I can say back then there was not much opportunity for Asian Americans, you know, to get the job they want. Like, it's different now. You see some people are CEOs of this and that. I mean, look at one of the co-founders of YouTube. You know, some of these Asian Americans, they are CEOs now. Back then it wasn't, you know. It's true what Henry said. I think they just don't want to live their parents' footsteps, you know, this working 9-to-5 job, which is why you said they're pressuring us become a doctor, engineers, lawyers, you know. Even my parents, like, if you can't get a decent, just become a mailman. I was like, I don't want to be a mailman.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, in my experience, like some of the folks that I met growing up and the stories I hear, I think a lot of it is just goes back to what you were saying, just like the power, just the thought of like I can go around and just not have to look over my shoulder. And that's the assumption, but you actually have to look over your shoulder more, right? And I think the second thing is having a sense of family, because a lot of these people do come from broken homes or from abusive homes, right? And when they get an opportunity to get that sense of where they feel loved, you know, you're not going to get it from home. You're going to find it somewhere else, right? I think, what's that saying? If you fail to raise your kids, somebody else will. And I think a lot of these immigrant parents are not only just for Asians, but across the board, where they're working most of the time, right? So they don't have time to really teach them the right way and what's wrong. And, you know, all they can do is put a roof over your head and food on the table and a bed to sleep on. And that's their way of parenting. Mm-hmm. And that tends to backfire a lot, because those kids need more than just a roof over the head, meal. They need much more than that. They need resources. They need education. They need love. They need hugs. And in Asian families, even ones that are wealthy, right, that came from good homes, not broken homes, how many times do you hear, like, there's this meme with Shang-Chi, right? Like saying the fakest part of Shang-Chi's was when the mother says, "I'm proud of you," right? And how many Asian parents, right, or maybe you guys can relate to it from firsthand experience, where they can't tell you to your face, like, "I love you," or "I'm proud of you," and "You're amazing. I think you're doing great," right? That emotional support, that verbal, that right in your face. I think that's what's lacking a lot. And when you grow up without that, you get so hard. But when someone outside gives it to you, you're like, huh? What did you say? I'm cool? You think this shirt looks cool on me? Especially as a guy, because we don't get complimented at all, right? So another guy says something cool about you, or they say, "Yo, Patrick, I got your back," right? "Oh, yeah? Because I've been bullied. I've been hurt. You're going to be with me?" Like, yeah. Oh, shit, man. Like, fuck yeah, then. You know what? Yeah, we're each other's dogs. Like, I got you too then. You
it's
know,
like
and it does, as an adult, that sounds absurd. But when you're 14, maybe not, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're looking for a sense of family. And if you're not getting that from where you're coming from, then you're going to look for it elsewhere, you know?
Yeah. I'm still waiting for that from my family. To say I love you.
So you can.
I think all of us have that.
You know what? I will say that my dad and my mom has caught up with the times. My mom tells me she loves me. I could see it's hard.
Was
for
that
her.
before or after the kids? When you had kids?
Sometime.
Because I feel like once you become a parent.
When I got a job.
Oh, when you got a job, okay.
That's
when I became a
progressive.
full-time worker, I think that's when she was like,
You're an adult.
yeah, I could, say. I started feeling a little bit of that when I went to college, right? She teared up, she choked up a little, she held back tears with me leaving the house. But when I got a job, and she was like, all right, he's going to be okay.
Okay.
He's not going to work in a sweatshop. He's not going to work in a restaurant. I think that's one of her biggest fears for me, that I would be a loser in her eyes, right? So I think that's what made her so hard towards me. But when she saw that, I think she just kind of took a step back and go, I think he's going to be okay. I did my job. And I could now focus on myself. And I watched her become more like a child like just more loose and chill,
Yeah.
way more relaxed in life than just a big stressor, right? And then my father, he told me he was proud of me when I got a job. So it was just, I think once you start figuring out ways of making an income, well, at least for
Or
me,
just becoming an adult.
it
you
made
know?
my parents go, okay, he's not a child anymore. He grew
Yeah.
out of all that bullshit, like cartoons or being out with friends all day and basketball all day or whatever it is, right? I think my parents were like, okay, he's turning into a man. I'm seeing this, and then it's like I think each milestone they just felt more proud.
The walls came down at each level.
Yeah, I think that's what happened for at least in my experience. But I did for the first 20 something years of my life. Yeah, it was very difficult. I was like, do you guys even love me? Like, geez, like,
I agree with you, man. I think for Asian independent artists like myself and a couple actor friends, I think we haven't got that because we're struggling to create art and we're not getting paid for the big bucks to like for our family to recognize like, oh, they can hold a job because they're working at so and so like a studio. They don't see that way, and it's tough. But you're right. Your friends do compliment. Like, all my friends are proud of me for what I did. They're like, yo, I'm surprised you're working with so and so, and you got to adapt Henry's book. And even though Henry and I, we're not related or anything, but even to hear Henry say he's proud of me for what I've done for him, that's even touching.
those are the good ones.
Yeah.
Those are the good ones that you have friends that actually root for you. Because here's a lot of things. Correct me if I'm wrong. How many people do you guys know that where they secretly root against you, or maybe not so secret, right? That are close friends or even relatives of yours, right? They can't. Your success is shining a light on them, and they compare the two, and they go, "Well, I don't like that. Who's Patrick? Thinking he's all big and bad. He's gonna do this," and then he's looking at maybe he doesn't really hate you, but it shines a light on what they're doing, and then they start hating. Right? And it's like crab in a bucket mentality, right? It's like, who are you to go get married and find a girl and get a college degree or make a film? And secretly, maybe they want a girlfriend themselves. Maybe they want to get married. Maybe they want to make a film.
Yeah.
And then you're so close, like, how does this guy get everything? How come this guy's always lucky? Right? Now I hear that a lot. When I'm with certain people, someone else is doing something, and I'll hear a comment where they go, how come that guy is so lucky? Or they'll go, that guy thinking all that. This is not even that good.
That person needs to see therapy.
Right?
It's true. I did hear people say, how the hell did he get time on Ronnie? So-and-so. And I don't know them. I don't care. What they have to say.
That's Ronnie Chang, the comedian, right?
Yeah, Ronnie Chen and Tai Ma. And
Tai Ma is America's Asian dad.
father.
And Henry's homie.
Yeah. He's there for those of you guys listening. He's the guy that played Mulan's dad.
Or everyone
Right.
knows him as the guy from Rush Hour.
Yeah, but that's an older movie. The younger people listening may not.
Yeah, the TikTok generation probably doesn't know.
Well, Henry.
That's very true. They might not know, but
Yeah.
here's a guy, Tai Ma, who I've known many, many years, and if I had said to him all those years ago that one day you're going to be the most recognized Asian American actor in this country, he would have been like, what are you smoking, man? Let me get some of that. And here he is today, Tai Ma, Rush Hour, a number of other
Farewell.
big
Mulan,
films.
Farewell, Kung Fu.
I've seen him
And
in a
A
lot.
Father's Son.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good.
Lucky Boys Podcast.